Welcome back to our second hour. The show continues. We're still focusing on the status of the country. Earlier on, the National Police Service Acting Inspector General, that is Douglas Kanja, addressed members of the Fourth Estate at the footsteps of Jogoo House, where clearly stated that for the last 1 month, people have been able to lose their lives. Vehicles, businesses and properties have been damaged. He clearly stated that the National Police Service are respecting Article 37 of the Constitution, but he clearly states that goons have infiltrated the peaceful protests being carried out by Gen Zs across the country. And he clearly states that the Public Order Act requires protesters to inform the police so that they can offer security, which he says they have not done. That's why the goons have been able to take advantage of this protest. Now, he clearly reiterated his message that he issued yesterday by clearly stating, issuing a caution to individuals taking part in the protest today against accessing protected areas. While assuring the public of safety, Kanja urged protesters to refrain from attempting to enter or interfere with protected areas, stating that in light of the demonstrations planned for today, it is critical to firmly remind the public of legal boundaries that govern access to protected areas, citing the Protected Areas Act Cap 204. Laws of Kenya prevents the entry of unauthorized persons into areas which have been declared to be protected. Now, some of these areas he has listed is the LPG plant, bitumen plant and petroleum depots situated at the Embakasi Aviation Depot, including the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, are some of the protected areas. He further highlighted the Kenya Civil Aviation Act number 21 of 2013 under Section 58 on trespasses, which provide that any person who trespasses on any land forming part of the government airdrome commits an offence that is punishable by law. Kanja urged all individuals participating in demonstration to respect the laws prohibiting access to the protected areas. Rather, the National Police Service stated he is resolute in his commitment to uphold and enforce these laws, and anybody who breaks these laws will be dealt with firmly. And finally, when he was winding up his statement, he clearly congratulated the police for doing their work diligently across the country in protecting businesses and lives, and clearly stated that let's protect our country jealously, given that we only have one country. Joining us for this conversation in the second hour is Ishmael Nyaribo, an advocate of the High Court, and Oscar Omondi, a governance and policy expert. Let me start with Ishmael Nyaribo. Given that you're an advocate, clearly, the National Police Service is stating that protected areas are a no-go zone. Talk to us about these acts and what the Constitution stipulates when it comes to these protected areas such as JKI.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this show. You see, the Constitution and the pieces of legislation guiding critical infrastructure and, guiding demonstrations, guiding all these things in times of crisis are clear. Yes, it is true that you cannot just access the airport and do what you want to do. You cannot go to these critical plants you have talked about, bitumen, gas. You see, it involves people dying, actually, if they were to be attacked. But where are we? This is the critical question. Where are we and why are we here? You see, protesters would have no interest to go to the airport. And by the way, there are several pieces of rules and legislations, guiding the airport, and not only locally, but that Kenya as a country is under obligation to protect the airport, because it's not only Kenyans who will access the airport. But where are we and how did we come here? This is the main germane issue. Why are protesters targeting a place like the airport? The other time they were not talking about the airport, they were talking about Parliament and State House. Now they are talking about the airport. Then we start hearing rumors that the executive work in cahoots with very funny business people in this country who form cartels have literally sold out the airport to a foreign national or foreign company to actually govern. I mean, if it is rumors, which I agree, I don't have data, but if it is rumors, then it's upon the the government to come out and say, sorry, this is basically hearsay. We can show you, here are the papers indicating that the Airports Authority and the Ministry of Transport and Communication, Civil Aviation are in control. It's a so simple a thing. But they cannot do this because, as I told you, there are businessmen who work closely with government officials to ensure that whatever is being done within government benefits these business people. So, in fact, sooner or later, you will see that the main problem is not State House. It could be business people who go around the president, who are in every moment trying to gain from the status quo, from even these skirmishes. There are certain business people who are actually benefiting from this. So the law does not allow any citizen to destroy any infrastructure, leave alone the critical infrastructure. But to save the country from all these, who should act? Is it coming on air and telling people not to walk in the street, not to demonstrate, not to say something like we don't like bad governance? Who is supposed to act? If you ask me, the right place to take that kind of address is the executive, State House, Parliament, and the judiciary. The people of Kenya have a right under the Constitution to go out there and express themselves and present petitions to whichever government authority. And when you stop them along the way, and probably tear gas them and in the process, you know, destroy property and injure citizens, and then you come again and feign ignorance and say, you know, we will not allow destruction of property, is what I normally call intellectual manipulation.
Oscar, your thoughts on the IG statement?
Okay, the IG statement, I think the government, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this particular show. But I think the government is becoming a bit reactionary. The government should be in control of themselves. The government should be in control of orders. The government should be ahead of everything. But the question is, why are we stuck where we are? Because for the last 1 month, we are stuck because somebody is not providing proper leadership in terms of the people in management, people in authority of what the government is supposed to do. What are demonstrations, for example? Demonstrations are civil disobedience. And what is civil disobedience? Civil disobedience is a situation where people refuse to follow some particular laws because of unjust decisions of government. And why will we get to this particular position of people having to go for civil disobedience with intention to influence the decisions of government? They want to influence decision of government because they find that decision of government are sometimes unjust, and that is why they're involved in such a type of behavior. So the IG is in record, yes. What I like in what the IG has done for the first time in this country, this is the first time I'm seeing an IG referencing to the Constitution. And what I think the Gen Zs and anybody who has been using these demonstrations, they've been insisting that can we use the Constitution as a guiding principle? And the IG for the first time in his press release is mentioning particular references to particular parts of the Constitution. But my other question is, the people should really come first. That is the sovereign idea of our Constitution. And when the people come first, the problem is that at this moment, sometimes government hardly give reasonable reasons of why some actions are being taken. For example, what Nyaribo talks about of some business deals between our airport and some other organizations, which you say is a rumor, which I think is a rumor because there's no facts backing it. But the government should be giving reasonable decisions on what they make for the people, because at the end of the day, in a democracy, is a government. What is a democratic government? A democratic government is a government for the people, by the people, with the people, of the people. So the people are supreme. So give reasons of why things should be done, and let us have a good PR between the people and the government. Otherwise, the rubber meets the road, and we are stuck. For example, when I came to station today, I passed through the city center. It's dead, no business. When we have a situation where we won't be having business 2 days in a week, it will injure the economic situation of the country. So again, why are we stuck? We are stuck. It is because, in my own analysis, it is because of we are not getting in touch with the reality. When governments are put in place and political leaders are in place, how do they get in touch with political realities? They get in touch with political realities not by, for example, the president or the highest level of authority coming down to the street to check what are the people saying. You should have advisors who advise you and tells you what is in the realistic situation of the situation that we're dealing with. But I think for the last 1 month, we've lost touch, maybe government and the governed, because these are two institutions in my analysis. They are the governed and the government, but these two have lost touch with each other. Now we need to have a situation where they're at par, they're agreeing. I think the president has explained very many times that I went to X, I went there, they were supposed to do this, we were supposed to do this. But we're not getting that. The problem is, mostly in my analysis, are they political decisions that he's supposed to make? Is it a political issue? I don't think it's a political issue. I think he's trying to use a political solution to an administrative problem. Administrative problem, by administrative, I mean things like when he has to fire his cabinet and then get the back, such decisions, things like debt audit. When we have to do a debt audit, Hashim, it is a problem if we realize that we don't even know how much debt we owe, and we've been paying that debt.
My brother is
Ishmael,
saying,
as you respond, while you're responding to what Oscar's just stated, go back to what the IG was talking about. We have the Public Order Act clearly stating that he, on his part, is saying that the protesters have failed to tell us who is leading that particular protest and what are their intentions. The IG citing the Public Order Act on the protesters to inform the police who their leaders are. Secondly, how are they going to mobilize themselves? So your thoughts on that as you react to the Central Business District scenes that we have just witnessed here?
Yeah, first of all, you must appreciate that there's already a strike. There's already demonstrations going on, in the sense that the mere fear of the fact that if I go into town, I will meet Gen Z protesting, and then you shut down the shops, businesses are shut, no going to office. That's already a demonstration, really. And in terms of the global eye, they think that we cannot access Nairobi, we cannot access the Central Business District. Therefore, probably we will have to postpone our trip. So still that impact created by the Gen Z protesting is felt today, and actually you can say it is still successful. Coming to the IG, I love clarity, and there is nothing more disappointing than just coming on air and citing some writings. It does not count to anything. I say this with tremendous respect to the National Police Service and the IG, but we know that the laws do not allow you to access State House anyhow. You cannot even do photographs. I mean, the way our youth do photographs in the street every other Sunday or weekends, you cannot do that on the precincts of State House. So repeating it is simply, of course, trying to teach the masses that already know you cannot access the critical infrastructure. The question we are asking is why, in any event today, are citizens interested in accessing the critical infrastructure? And by the way, Hashim, if you look at the national police numbers and where they should be positioned when there are such demonstrations, why are you interested in young men and women who are protesting and walking on the highway or on the street, and you are worried about informing them about the airport? Why can't you take all your police officers at the airport and guard the building, guard the critical infrastructures, guard the supermarkets and businesses? There is enough police actually to guard such buildings. But instead of doing that, you are interested in going to bring water cannons and assigning police officers to make sure that they are in the middle of, youth who are not armed, who are actually singing along the road that we are peaceful, we just want good governance, and if you do not give us good governance, we are going to make sure it is very difficult for you to govern. So are you seeing the change of, roles? Instead of the IG positioning enough police officers at the airport, enough police officers around the State House, and enough police officers at the, whatever, bitumen, whatever gas plants. That's what they need to do. Then they leave us alone to have our time on the road. So they now come with a scheme to make it look like these young people must be planning to overthrow government, they must be planning to go to war, and then now they are actually defeated. Now they say, who is the leader? So now I saw Didmas Baraza in the evening saying now he's the de facto leader. You see, they are trying by all means to ensure that they can find out somebody they can sacrifice so that the Gen Z movement can die. I don't think these people have any leader really.
I think in terms of...
as you respond, we have already dispatched reporters to the various areas you just talked about, and they'll be briefing us, especially in JKIA, a press briefing, State House Road, and Parliament. As you respond, Oscar, we are talking about some of the root cause of the issue. If you can see, businesses are closed within the central business district. The government has said that up to now we have lost 6 billion. Don't you think we're even exacerbating the situation when it comes to the cost of living?
The question is, I kept asking you, Hashim, why are we stuck? You know, we are a democratic country and a very organized democratic country that does its election periodically every year and brings in a new government in office. Why are we stuck with this one? Why are we not solving this one? It's 1 month. It started on the 25th. Today is on the 23rd of July. But these things started on the, I think, on the week before 25th. So it's already 1 month. The question is, for example, what Nyaribo was talking about, the physical nature of dealing with these protests. I think the police are employing a physical way of dealing with the issue when it needs it's a psychological warfare. Pulling you to airport while the police knows that these guys might, it might be a decoy, that we go to the airport and they will come back into town. So the police are also in a situation, in a catch-24 situation. So I think that everywhere, every area must be protected, must be secured for property and what have you. But again, when you talk about the leadership, I think I should take you through, because I'm a student. I did so much studies about how social movement works. How do we define social movement, Hashim, first of all? A social movement is a movement of individuals taking collective action for a particular cause. That is the best definition of a social movement. This is a social movement. The social movement are only individuals with like-mindedness. It can never have its leadership the hierarchical way. It has a leader. Anybody who want to listen to this will listen to this today. It has a leader. The only thing that its leadership, it's flat. It doesn't take a hierarchical as an organization structure. The structure is different. We don't have a chairman, vice chairman, deputy vice chairman, secretary in a social movement. A social movement has a flat leadership because they are people of like-mindedness taking a collective action for a particular cause. That is how a social movement works. Now, like the Black Lives Matter, that was a social movement. When a social movement achieves its cause, it dies natural death. For example, the Black Lives Matter, when Floyd's killer, the police that killed Floyd in America, was taken through the justice system, Black Lives Movement ended. I will tell you, for example, people don't know, even ODM, that party called ODM today, it was not a party, it was not an organization before. It was a social movement of people who opposed the Constitution of Kenya 2005. That thing was created by one Samuel Kuvitu, who said the people who are for the Constitution will be called, will have a symbol banana. The people who are against will have a symbol called orange, the chungwa. So people, civil societies, individuals, and all people of all walks of life. People were ministers in government, like Raila Odinga and the rest, and Najib Balala. They were ministers in government, but they opposed the Waki draft. It's called the Wako draft. That was Kilifi, then Wako draft. Then it came into a social movement that was there until when Kivuitu again, at the steps of KICC, announced that the no side has won. That was the end of that social movement. But in that flow, I remember Najib Balala saying, na hiyo orange itakuwa chama. That means that the social movement has metamorphosed into an organization. At that level, it takes a hierarchical leadership structure where there's a chairman, a vice chairman, and deputy chairman. But when it is a social movement, even the Gen Z movement, it is a social movement. One day, when it will change into an organization, you will see a chairman, a vice chairman, and deputy chairman. So this is how a social movement operates all over the world. The Arab Spring, you cannot ask about its leadership because social movement has a flat leadership structure. It is a leadership structure because they're just like-minded people. Nobody is better than the other. People just pull together to take a collective action because of their like-mindedness. So you can never have a leadership structure the traditional way that we are all used to. So that is a problem. So if government and operatives in government get to read and understand how social movements operate, they're able to deal with it. Number three, their indomitable way. Why they're not able to be dealt with? Why we are stuck? Because of their amorphous nature, the space at which they're occupying. You deal with people who have pseudonyms here and all that. You know, you can never place anything to one person. So the best thing, what they are saying, that we have put our issues together. We can never show who is our, because to be honest, the leadership is there, but it's only that it takes structural. And now next week, I think again, they might again target another critical infrastructure. And then we will still be running and we will be stuck for a long, long time. So the best is, let's get people who understand how social movements work and address those issues.
So what unites these people? I don't know. I mean, what unites them? Apart from the fact that they are probably youngish and they have just come up, what I think where we all converge is on the fact that the Kenya today wants good governance. That's the whole point. Whether you want to look for who is more conspicuous, who is appearing to be facilitating or agitating the young people, where we all converge as a country, whether you're 90 or 15 years, Kenya wants good governance. That's the main issue today.
And we're looking for what then next? We're looking for solutions, recommendations, because I'm sure even the government are watching this show currently as we speak, and many of policy makers and changers are watching us right now. What should be the solution, Ishmael? We're looking
I don't know what your view is, Oscar, but what has come out clearly is from the State House, they are saying, hey, okay, fine, we've heard you. Can we dialogue? A very honest, a very genuine, I believe. The only possibility from anybody who wants to come out of State House, they don't just flee. They don't just walk away. They don't just take a pen and resign. Not possible. Even Biden said, I will not contest again, but I will serve until the end of my term. It is not necessarily because of his own selfish earning of salary or all that, you know, endowment. It is because he looks at the larger interest of the country. If I walk out now, we will have no president. If we have no president until November, what will happen? A lot of confusion. So even for William Ruto today, by the way, to call for dialogue, and you saw what he was saying in Bomet. I don't know whether we listen to people really and how they, and the meaning of what they are saying. He was, to me, that is desperation. That is like, I'm even following you to X, you are running away.
But isn't that...
So dialogue, Hashim, dialogue. Is actually a critical and important suggestion by head of state. Now, the youth do not believe. Now, that's another issue. Then Raila Odinga has come in, and when you look at the likes of Raila Odinga, by the way, with that political giant stature, he has also said, look, okay, fine. We want this guy to go so we can bring good governance. However, we cannot today say, William Ruto, get out of State House. So what happens? So I think that with all tremendous respect, in terms of the Gen Z intentions, they must look at that. They must address that. Even at their own level, they must address the issue of, okay, fine, Ruto is gone, yes, fine. Okay, we don't want Gachagua also, presidency is gone. Then what happens? So they are now talking of, oh, then Speaker will take power for, you know, who is the Speaker? It's Wetangula. No, that to me, that to me, it's the same brand of politics. Then, okay, get the Chief Justice to form interim committee and be in power for about, you know, these things. If you look at the situation where we are now, yes, it's quite low, but it's not it's not the final low. It's not like the worst. We can have IBC come in place, and we can have commissioners once they are in place, then we can agree on when can elections be called. If you talk of pushing somebody out, but just saying that get this guy out or whatever.
The same constitution has not envisaged for us to hold elections right now. We have to wait until 2027.
No. Let me clear up. Nyaribo is one of my best lawyers, but I think on this one, I'll beg to differ. What happens is, somebody did a bad thing for this country. It's called Charles Nyachai. He is the guy who has messed us. That is why we're in this mess. These boys, by occupying parliament, they were invoking Article 1 of the Constitution. What does Article 1 says? That representation will be done directly by the people or by representatives. Right? When these boys or whoever, Gen Zs, who told them to go and occupy parliament with the intention of invoking Article 1. The problem with Article 1, Charles Nyachai Commission that were in office to operationalize the Constitution. They did not operationalize the Constitution. They were in office for 5 years as a task force to operationalize the Constitution. That Article 1 hangs over nothing. What's supposed to happen? There should be an act of parliament that operationalizes Article 1. That in case the people decide to directly represent themselves, how is it actualized? So that is where we are stuck with the Gen Zs. I'm just discussing about the Gen Zs. They have, nobody ever thought that we will get to this situation, but we've gotten to this situation. Nyaribo and Oscar and Hashim and anybody else can come with a bill of parliament that actualizes, because we will always get here. The Constitution implementation has not been done 14 years on the line. Very many constitutional positions have not been actualized, operationalized.
Even implemented.
So Article 1 that was invoked by whoever I advised the Gen Z movement has no has not been operational. Even if you go to court today for an interpretation of Article 1, the courts will tell you that, will send you back to Parliament, that Parliament has to create an act of Parliament that operationalizes Article 1. I think that is partly because I'm just discussing of the actions they took. That court will still send you back that Parliament must operationalize, must create an act of Parliament that says that in case such a thing happens, then we have either a caretaker government, either we have, you remember when we were putting, when we had a grand coalition, after agreement at Serena, Kofi Annan and the rest, we had to go back to Parliament to operationalize those decisions that were made there. For us to make Raila Odinga the Prime Minister, we had to create an act of Parliament so that we actualized, because it was not part of our laws then. So we actualized it through an operational act of Parliament.
I don't want to cut him short, but let me tell you, this country simply needs goodwill. The pieces of legislations we have, enough, if you ask me. But he points out a very critical issue. How do we operationalize Article 1? We will leave that to parliamentarians. But what is happening today? If the Gen Z movement, for example, wants to kick out the head of state today, we are operating on what we have today. I mean, if we try to look at what we don't have, then goodwill takes us back to NADCO. You see, what was the regime, what was the legal regime allowing for NADCO? It is goodwill. That, okay, let's have a committee, all-inclusive. Even the same thing now the head of state is trying to say, let's have a broad-based government. From which act of parliament, from which provision in the constitution. We can operate today under the same constitution. I mean, instead of saying we have to create a new legislation, if we were to agree that, okay, fine, the head of state has accepted to ABC, and it looks like there would be a vacuum, then we must go back to the provisions of the constitution today. And that is where we are saying, then if the head of state goes what happens. It is there in the Constitution. So if you say, no, because now we are going to govern ourselves directly, so we need an act of parliament. We are in the month of July, August. We don't have that act of parliament. So we must retreat to the provisions of our Constitution today. Therefore, we are saying, instead of taking a hard position that no, we will not listen to anything, Ruto must go. Okay. That is okay, fine. Yes. Then when he goes, what next?
Yes, that is the question.
We must go back to the Constitution.
Even if
and the Constitution says, if the head of state goes, the deputy takes over. If you say, no, we want to remove all of them, under Article 1, we the people, then you must go back to the Constitution. If you remove them, then the Speaker comes up to...
Are we not creating a constitutional crisis here in the country? If we say, let's say, the whole administration goes, first of all, we have no cabinet in place. Already, the head of state has heeded to the demands that the Gen Zs have. But isn't that goodwill enough to come to the table and converse with the
That is why I was saying, you know, when I love clarity. And I was trying to answer my brother, and I'm honoring the steps taken by the young people to ensure we have good governance. I am not even disputing with that. But I'm now also saying, can the young people, can the Gen Zs now look at it more critically? In the sense that if somebody is cooking, give him just 10, 15 minutes so that he can put the food down on the table so that we can eat. So what I mean is this. Now we have given our demands. Okay, the head of state is trying, IBC is coming into place soon. I think the deadline for a selection panel is coming to fruition. So in short, we are setting up those structures. So as we do that, now let's agree. Do you want to give the head of state 2 weeks, 1 month?
Yes.
Is it 2 months? You know, do you want to allow citizens to run into their offices and try and, you know, make some money? When you, by the way, when you people, because how much are they losing? I mean, who is losing this 6 billion? Fine, you say the country. Are they even gaining 10 bob per day when they come to the street? They don't. So let us agree that, okay, fine, this protesting is actually bearing fruits.
Yes.
Can we take 1 month or 2 month break to ensure that the IBC is in place?
Yes.
And then we will see which commissioner is being appointed. You know, now the young people, they are techno-savvy. They should now see, okay, fine, after 2 months, so they have actually lied to us again. Immediately after that, then everybody in the country will support the Gen Z protesting.
Okay.
Because I am sure teachers want to go to class a little bit, children want to go and close school. So if the Gen Z would agree with tremendous respect, and we must, I mean, I'm not like the IG who is just coming and to read some pieces of legislation to shout at the young people. No. If the Gen Z movement could add their own wisdom, consider a withdrawal of about a month or two, just to ensure that we, you know, in every step, there is always an audit. Okay. Let us audit our 1 month protest and picketing in another maybe 1 month to see whether there are any results. And if there are no results at all, definitely there will be
as you respond to that, isn't that a fair notion where it comes to the president has already heeded to some of their demands. He has implemented some of them. We have seen them. Even to the extent yesterday, as we're speaking, the acting Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, went on to Parliament to clearly state that 198 billion has been cut from the initial budget. We are having a supplementary budget one in few days or even weeks to the new financial year. And are we not even getting into uncharted waters as we ask for dialogue itself?
What Nyaribo talks about these 2 months, even in active war, which I'm a student and a lecturer of war.
So is this war? You're saying that this
is a lecture of war?
No, we're not talking about war. Don't escalate it to that extent, Oscar. It's not war.
Clausewitz defined war as politics by other means. Get me right? War is politics by other means. When we stop talking, we get into war. It starts like this. Let me tell you, even Arab Spring, that has what has ended up, it started by somebody just pouring himself some petrol in his head, some hawker in the streets of Tunis, and it's ended up to be what we have in Syria today. So war is politics by others.
Those are your sentiments. Those are not our sentiments.
I've referenced to Clausewitz. But anyway, what you asked me, how do we get off this situation? And Jaribo has come up with a very good analysis of how he thinks, his opinion, how. The problem is about mistrust. The guarantees, because even in dialogue, there must be something called guarantees. How do you guarantee the people that what you say today will hold tomorrow? We've had calmer situations. Somebody say that the summer was calmer. When the summer was calmer, we could have used that opportunity to make some of the changes that we want to make. It's always been open. Even the institution of dialogue, you know very well that when the president, the mood of the country, and Ashim, you have always been there with us. You know the mood of the country was when the cabinet was dissolved. There was some calm, and the TVs were showing that there's some calm, at least the president heeded to someone. And there was calm. But now again, by getting back the same people back to cabinet, again, there was pain on these people.
What you're saying is now,
before you respond,
what the president needs to do.
Just a minute, Ishmael. Let me start with you, Ishmael. Going forward, let's give solutions. We are looking at the possible solutions that the government can implement as we speak, so as to quell the tension that is in the country.
Number one, Ashim, the president took up the Bible at the Kasarani Stadium and said that immediately I put down this Bible, I will deal with cartels. If the president could deal with cartels, even now, in the 11th hour, as it is today, if he can deal with cartels, if he can disassociate himself with the business cartels that are actually kind of pushing him to a different direction, and they come and if he can withdraw all these ministers he's recalling, you know, like as if there's nothing that has happened. If he can stand with the people of Kenya, in honesty, the people of Kenya will stand with William Ruto and will continue to support him 100%. But if he cannot calm down and he will continue to stay with certain cartels around him.
How can we confirm the president is with cartels? How can we ascertain that? Because those are your sentiments.
Yes, can I qualify? That? Let me tell you. The head of state says clearly, I will deal with cartels. Then when he comes out to lead in governance, he does not deal with them. He does not deal with them because we are still seeing theft in public institutions. I mean, if you look at the Auditor General, what's this other one? Control of budget. They are always saying that there are funds that have been withdrawn, but we cannot trace where they have gone. They are always saying there is possible, there's a threat to theft happening in this and these kind of policies that are within the government. So if, and you can see from opulence, there is no wealthy man in this country, Ashim, you can check using any methods. There is no wealthy man who comes to showcase their money. Nobody. These people just steal a little bit of money and then they start to showcase all around, and they are in government. So the head of state has not shown goodwill in terms of prosecuting. How so? And he has changed some of the issues that... What the young people are saying is, let's see the big heads rolling. Let's see the heads of institutions where there has been theft or at least suspicion being properly investigated and taken to court if they are found culpable. So I think that the citizens have demanded the head of state must show goodwill, must show that he does not intend to take the country back to where it was, where the citizens were agitating. He must show that, okay, I am willing to stand with the people. And that is from the selection of his ministers, you know, the second batch of ministers, from the permanent secretary, principal secretaries when they come in, and then by his own utterances. I mean, already in Bomet, I mean, you're speaking with the same... you know, the same high-pitched tone so as to threaten citizens that enough is enough. But now we shall... Ishmael, it has been 1 month of the same scenario. Then if you're in that office, what would you have done? As I have said, Hashim, you don't box me into I'm not boxing you. I'm not boxing you. I'm just asking you. I respect the demonstrators agency, but I've already said that I understand leadership and governance. A leader must be given a moment to come back to the people. And you told me what next. Now I am also stretching it to say, even where we are giving the head of state his time to rule us, he should not come back with the same boots, same suits, same people he has been with, and then say, now we have changed. He should now come with different type of suits. Probably he should avoid the the counter suits. And anyway, he should come back anew. He should not come back in the same style, especially with the same leaders who are in office. He should show that he has actually detached himself with that level of opulence that was actually seen.
I think if you ask me, first of all, we need to diagnose what is the problem. And in my case, the problem needs administrative solutions, not political solutions. And bringing in this broad-based government. First of all, legally, it is not even allowed in our constitution to have that thing called government of national unity. In our constitution, Kenya is a multi-party democracy. In a multi-party democracy, there's the minority side and the majority side, or the opposition and the government. Crossing over after election is not, there's no mechanism for doing that. You can cross over as an individual, but you sit by election. You can't cross over as the minority leader to become part of government. Now, so we need administrative solutions. Secondly, what we need to do, stick to what we say. Make people believe that what you say today will stand tomorrow. It will bring some sense of certainty. We will know that we started from point A to point B. This back and forth thing brings confusion and brings uncertainty, and a situation of precarious situation or uncertainty that leads to anxiety, and those anxiety can lead to a situation where we don't know where we are heading to. We need some leadership. Actually, currently, if you ask me who is the leader, I will tell you according to our definitions, what is power, for example, Hashim. Power is when A can influence B to do what B could have not done otherwise. That is the definition of power. Currently, as we speak now, we are becoming reactionary. I think the Gen Z movement are leading, and we are following. I think the authorities should take control. And how do they take control? By guaranteeing that what they say today will mean the same thing tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. I think the situation the way it is, if I'm sent here as a consultant to measure the situation, I think the situation is not bad. We have these 2 days. We get the calm. Tomorrow, there will be everything going on in Nairobi, and every shop will be opened, and life will go on, the airport will be working. But Thursday, again, we're back to uncertainties. So when we get these calmer situations, these calm opportunities, let us do something with these calmer situations. How do we do something? Make sure that whatever we say today will stand tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And people will trust you. When we have that type of leadership, then they will take over. He will take over control of the state. But currently, the Gen Zs have taken over control of the state, and we are reacting to what they say from the IG to even Musalia.
So they say that all that goes around comes around. So I think there's a fake majority in Kenya Kwanza that originated in 2022. You remember that?
Yes,
we are out of time, guys. We are out of time.
Yes.
Thank you so much. The conversation continues, of course. Ishmael Nyaribo, an advocate of the High Court, thank you for coming in. Oscar Omondi, a governance and policy expert, thank you also for coming in.